Hello everyone, today I'll be presenting an alternate history scenario where the eastern part of Hispaniola, traditionally Spanish Hispaniola, becomes a Dutch colony following the 7 Years' War in 1763. This colony is renamed Sint Dominicus, with the capital Sint Dominicus Stad, and it introduces Dutch settlers, Surinamese and Curaçaoan migrants, and Indonesian laborers from the Dutch East Indies. Despite this major change, the historical trajectory of the Dominican Republic is preserved. Independence movements, Haitian occupation, the Trujillo dictatorship, and modern democracy still occur, and Spanish-descended Dominicans continue to live on the island. The Dutch takeover reshapes urban planning, culture, and the economy. Cities such as Sint Dominicus Stad, Zilverhaven, formerly Puerto Plata, Sint Cristofel, formerly San Cristobal, and De Vida, formerly La Vega, are redesigned with Dutch-style canals, forts, and grid layouts. Dutch settlers dominate administration, trade, and governance, while Afro-Dominicans, Spanish-descended Creoles, and Indonesian communities occupy other sectors of society. Indonesian migrants, primarily from Java and Ambon, settle in farming villages like New Java and Ambonia, introducing Southeast Asian agricultural techniques. Surinamese and Curaçaoan migrants contribute to trade, crafts, and plantation labor. Meanwhile, Spanish-descended Dominicans continue to maintain their language, Catholic faith, and traditional cultural practices, particularly in rural areas and older neighborhoods. The Haitian Revolution still occurs as in our timeline. When Haiti gains independence in 1804, refugees flee to Sint Dominicus, adding further diversity to the population. Dutch administration fortifies the borders, but cannot prevent the influx of migrants. During the early 19th century, nationalist movements unfold, just as in our timeline. José Núñez de Cáceres' brief declaration of independence in 1821, Haitian occupation, and subsequent resistance occur with Spanish-descended Dominicans playing central roles. Dutch authorities attempt to influence governance, but ultimately cannot stop these movements. By 1844, Dominican independence is declared, and the country continues its historical trajectory, now layered with Dutch colonial infrastructure, urban planning, and cultural influence. By the 20th century, the society of Sint Dominicus is highly multicultural. Spanish-descended Dominicans comprise about 40% of the population, mainly in rural areas and traditional towns. Afro-Dominicans, making up roughly 25%, live across urban and rural areas, maintaining cultural traditions rooted in African heritage. Dutch descendants, around 10% of the population, are concentrated in administrative and commercial centers. Indonesians make up another 10%, preserving language, religion, and culinary traditions in their agricultural villages. Surinamese and Curaçaoan migrants contribute about 5%, mostly in trade and artisanal roles. The remaining 10% consists of Taino descendants, mixed populations, and other minorities. This demographic complexity gives rise to a rich linguistic and religious landscape. Dutch serves as the official language in administration, education, and trade, while Spanish remains dominant among Spanish-descended Dominicans. A local Creole, Dominicus Creole, blends Dutch, Spanish, African, and Indonesian words. English is also used in trade and tourism. Religiously, Catholicism remains the primary faith, mainly among Spanish-descended Dominicans and Afro-Dominicans. Protestantism, brought by Dutch settlers and missionaries, thrives in urban centers, while Indonesian communities practice Islam and Christianity, creating a pluralistic spiritual environment. Migration patterns also remain active. OTL Dominican emigration to the United States, Europe, and the Caribbean continues, while Sint Dominicus attracts Haitian refugees and Caribbean migrants. Indonesian and Surinamese communities established during the colonial period remain integral to the economy and culture. Urban centers like Sint Dominicus Stad and Zilverhaven serve as economic and cultural hubs, while rural areas maintain agricultural traditions, primarily led by Spanish-descended Dominicans, Afro-Dominicans, and Indonesian communities. In conclusion, Sint Dominicus demonstrates how Dutch colonial influence can coexist with the preservation of Dominican history and identity. Spanish-descended Dominicans maintain their language, religion, and cultural heritage, while Dutch, Indonesian, Surinamese, and Afro-Dominican communities create a multicultural society. Historical events such as independence, Haitian conflicts, and 20th-century political developments occur largely as in our timeline. But Dutch influence shapes infrastructure, governance, and urban life. This alternate history illustrates the resilience of national identity and the complexity of cultural interaction, showing how multiple colonial and migratory influences can blend while preserving historical continuity. Sint Dominicus emerges not just as a Dutch colony, but as a vibrant multi-ethnic society layered on top of Dominican history,